It often feels like every single thing that comes out of Hollywood is a reboot, remake, or a sequel. But is that actually what we want as an audience? Or has film and TV lost its creativity? There's been a continuous trend of reboots, remakes and sequels from particularly after COVID, I feel like, and this trend is only expected to continue. For example, in 2024, this year, we have seen so many sequels and remakes. For example, Gladiator 2, Inside Out 2, Deadpool 2, Mufasa the Lion King and Despicable Me 4. That's literally just a few. It's just a drop in the water of the amount of sequels and remakes and reboots that we have seen this year. However, is this actually what we as the audience want to see? Well, some other reviews coming out kind of show that it's not. I mean, for example, Joker, the sequel, received 32% on Rotten Tomatoes, and Ghostbusters Frozen Empire received 42%, all pretty low. This could be one of those times where we've seen the original has been so good that the sequel has just not been a match at all. For example, I think we can kind of all agree that Joker, it did pretty well. I mean, everyone kind of was talking about it, everyone really enjoyed it, it was very interesting, it was new, a new take on Joker. But then the second one, I think that received quite mixed reviews, and yeah, generally not too good reviews. However, there has actually been quite a few films that have done well with their sequels. For example, Quiet Place Day 1, June Part 2 and Smile 2. And I think right here we can tell the difference between an actually fully fleshed out sequel, one that has been planned out, one that has good characters, a good plot line, it's just generally interesting, it's got a little bit of something different, but it's still along, the same storyline. It just adds something new compared to something that, well, it's the complete opposite. For example, the Quiet Place movies, they each add something new. It's interesting, the acting's good. There is a new plot kind of each time, but follows the same kind of principle, the same idea of what's actually been happening all along. And it's visually interesting, the stories are good, I've enjoyed all of them. Similarly, The Dark Knight. I would also add that the Shrek movies, don't laugh at me here, but I think that the sequels were also good for, the children's genre, that it didn't let it down in, making it just kind of like a boring, non-interesting, following the same thing again and again. It added new stuff, and that's what you want to see from sequels. You want to see new things, but with the same characters and with interesting premises. But quite often, too much is just too much, especially when they've kind of closed a film or like a franchise off within, like, I don't know, the second film or the third film. Like Toy Story, for example, in my opinion, it should have finished with the third movie, but then they made a fourth one, and now apparently they're making a fifth one. And I just feel like sometimes they need to know when it's good. Like, when it's good. I mean, they know when it's good because they're getting the money in. That's why they keep making these sequels. But they need to know when, good things come to an end. All good things must come to an end. And they're just kind of bleeding it out dry of everything that they can do with these characters and these storylines, and it just kind of ruins it a little bit, because I don't want to really go and see Toy Story 5, even though I grew up watching the Toy Story movies, because for me it's done with. Like, it finished with the third movie for me, because that finished with Andy. Again, Harry Potter is getting a HBO series, and I don't know why, because no one really asked for this, I feel like. I mean, again, I'm a big Harry Potter fan, again, watched it all through my childhood, I still watch them now as comfort movies, and it's just, like, no one actually asked for this from the, fandom. No one wanted this. We wanted, if we were going to have a series, something like The Marauders or The Founding Houses, that would have been interesting. That's still within the same premise of the Wizarding World, but with something new. We don't want the same rehashed stories, like the same characters again and again, but with the same story. Like, no, it doesn't work like that. That's just not what people want to see. I mean, I'm kind of speaking for myself here. Let me know if the HBO series for Harry Potter is what you want to see. For me personally, it's not, and I've not seen any hype around it. I've not seen anyone kind of like really excited for it, because why would you be when it's something we've already seen? I don't really know how they're going to make this super different and interesting, but I guess time will tell. Also, the latest Disney princess movies, the animated ones, they all seem to be getting quite a few sequels. For example, with Frozen, we now have Frozen 2, we'll be getting Frozen 3, Moana, there's soon going to be Moana 2, and I think this kind of rarely happened with the older Disney princess movies. Like, you just had really Snow White or just Cinderella. There was no real sequels. I think that there was a few dotted around here and there, but for me personally, I watched the Disney movies, like princess ones, absolutely religiously. I was obsessed when I was little. However, I don't really recall watching any of the sequels. I can't remember the storyline at all if I did watch any. So yeah, I'm not saying that there isn't any or that there wasn't any, because I know that there was a few, but there was definitely not as much, or it definitely wasn't done as much as it is beginning to now. And again, on the same topic of Disney princesses, there are so many live remakes, and I don't know why. Once again, I believe that the Cinderella one, I think from 2014, I think that that was really, really well done. But other than that, I haven't really loved any of the live remakes. So the general opinion seems to be that the remakes rarely beats the originals. But why do they keep making them? So the number one thing, of course, is money. And cinemas are thought to actually be in danger because they're up against big competition such as Netflix, Now TV, HBO, Apple TV. They're up against, Prime. Again, they're up against all of these big streamers who kind of offer a lot more than the simple cinema. In this kind of cost of living crisis and post-COVID, there has been a decline in people going to cinemas, and it's kind of no wonder why, because the cost of a cinema ticket generally ranges from around £5 to up to about £18, which is a lot of money, and you could get many movies, many TV shows for one whole month worth of just one ticket, with Netflix and Prime being around the lower end price of one cinema ticket. This then leads us to the next point, in that the tried and tested and nostalgia wins. People are willing, however, to go and pay to see one of their favourite installments of the next franchise that they've loved, or a childhood movie, the sequel, a remake, because they loved it and they want a bit of that feel of nostalgia. So they know that because this worked originally, lots of people loved it originally, then a lot of people may then go and see the sequel, the remake, the reboot. They worked before, and so the theory is they'll work again. And with the tried and tested and the nostalgia comes curiosity, because we're anxious to go and see what they've changed. Have they made it better? Have they made it worse? How is it different? What's the new angle, for example? And so they know that because of that kind of psychological aspect of wanting to see what's different, and so studios know that offering this little bit of newness is going to bring people in to something that is already kind of old. We already know the premise, we already know the characters, we already generally know the storyline, the backstory. So it's like they already know that this is going to work because it's worked before. It's going to bring people in. But here's this little bit of newness to make you actually come and be curious and to see. It's kind of funny because we complain about how many reboots, remakes and sequels there are, but you can see how this would actually pull us in each time. And for me, I'm really excited to go and see the new Princess Diary movie when it comes out in the next few years. But I also know that I'm going to be feeding into that reboot mania. So what's the actual issue? Is originality dead? Well, Well, the answer is no, but you can see from the whys as to how these movies are just churned out so consistently. There is so much originality from writers, but it's not allowed to come through because Hollywood is so risk averse at the minute, and because our ways of watching things is changing as the audience too, because of, you know, the cost of living, and because we're changing the ways that we're actually watching things in general. It all boils down to money, and because of that, our tastes are changing and our ability to actually go sit and watch movies are also changing. We as the audience obviously influence this very heavily too, because we don't want to go and spend our hard-earned money on a movie that we may not even like, and so we instead go and watch the sequel to something that we did like, and at least we know it will be entertaining. But whether it actually is good or not is an entirely different question. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know your feelings and your thoughts down below. Do you think cinema is here to stay? Do you think it's dying? What do you think about some of the sequels and reboots and remakes that are being made? Do you actually enjoy any, or do you think that they're all just, you know, trying to take our money and, you know, a creative black hole? So yeah, let me know down below, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!